The suspect may well have been involved in at least 17 homicides. 17 homicides which our investigation indicates some of which may have occurred outside the city of Milwaukee.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Steph, and today we're doing something a little bit different. Again, thanks for bearing with me. Today I'm going to be pulling a chapter from the Killer Book of Serial Killers to talk about one of the most infamous, Jeffrey Dahmer. Ever heard of him?
Authorities in Milwaukee are about to formally charge Jeffrey Dahmer with multiple counts of murder. Dahmer has confessed to killing 11 people, cutting them up and boiling some of their heads so he could preserve their skulls. An arraignment is scheduled to begin at any moment, and CNN will cover those proceedings live. Earlier today, Milwaukee's police chief provided more details on a case he says fills him with utter horror. He says the killing spree may have started as long as 10 or more years ago. He says there may have been 17 or more victims.
Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial killer who was active from 1978 to 1991, starting when he was only 18 years old. His first victim was a male hitchhiker who he picked up and brought home in hopes of having sex with. When that didn't work out, however, and the victim wanted to leave, Dahmer ended up beating him with a barbell, cutting him up, and burying the parts of him. In 1982, Dahmer was arrested for exposing himself at the state fair after Du Bois accused him of masturbating in public. He was sentenced to a year but only served 8 months. In 1988, he was arrested for fondling a 13-year-old boy, but once again he was sentenced to a year in prison and only served 8 months. He convinced the judge that he just needed therapy, so based off that and good behavior, he was released on 5 years probation. Shortly after, however, Dahmer began killing again until his eventual arrest in 1991. This new string of killings, however, actually started a year before his second arrest in 1987. The only reason it was discovered to be part of Dahmer's murder spree is because it was part of his confession in 1991. Dahmer was also into experimenting with his victims. He wanted to create zombies that would basically be his slaves, and the way he did that is that he would drill a hole through their skulls and then fill it with some kind of solution that would knock them unconscious. It didn't end up working, and all of his victims just wound up being dead. Near the end of Dahmer's killing spree, a 14-year-old boy who was linked to someone Dahmer had sexually assaulted in the past was found wandering the streets. He was naked and under the heavy influence of drugs. Dahmer ended up convincing the police that this was his 19-year-old boyfriend, and they had gotten into a drunken argument during the night. Unfortunately, the 14-year-old didn't speak English, so his protest fell upon deaf ears, and the police let Dahmer take him, where unfortunately later that night he was murdered and dismembered. By summer, Dahmer was killing at least one person a week. July 22nd, 1991, Jeffrey Dahmer would lure one last man into his house. Dahmer was struggling while trying to handcuff this would-be victim. Once the victim escaped, he waved down police with the cuffs still dangling from one of his wrists. Dahmer was actually friendly with police at first when they came to his home, but once he realized they were suspicious, that kinda ended. One police officer subdued Dahmer while the other one began searching through his home, and they didn't come up empty-handed. Photographs of murdered victims and parts of humans, including severed heads and penises, were found. And in his bedroom they found this kind of shrine with candles, skulls, and photos of the victims.
The criminal complaint filed against Dahmer does mention cannibalism, and it says Dahmer had sex with 3 of the 4 victims he's charged with killing. He continues to be held on $1 million bail. The murder suspect is charged with 4 counts of first-degree homicide. 31-year-old Jeffrey Dahmer appeared in public for the first time today. His human body parts were discovered in his apartment. Authorities say he has confessed to 11 killings.
Believe it or not, Lynn, all we've heard so far, and they are grisly details indeed, those are only the surface details. Those are only the broadest brushstrokes, only the merest outlines of this case, which means there's a lot more grime and gore to come as this case unwinds.
In 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer went to court and was convicted of 15 consecutive life sentences. That's 957 years in prison. Though Dahmer did express remorse and even wished himself dead. He ended up serving time in the Columbia Correctional Institution in Portage, Wisconsin. November 28th of 1994, Jeffrey Dahmer and a fellow inmate would be murdered by another inmate with a bar from a weight machine. Isn't it ironic how the method of killing his first victim ended up coming back to end his own life? Especially considering this wasn't even the first attempt on his life in prison. There is so much more research to do on this case, but for now, that's all I've got for you guys today. All the information, plus a bit more that I didn't even get into, can be found in the Killer Book of Serial Killers. I'll link it down below. If you'd like to see more researched and planned out videos for my channel, I'd recommend to you my Clovis Wolf Manor video, which I'll leave for you somewhere on screen. If you like, subscribe. My face will appear right here, as well as the button down there. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you have a lovely day / night, and I'll see you later.